Chapter 141, saw the surveillance video. The plan of the mother-in-law to sell the villa to buy a house at Tianji Peak surprised both Fang Hao and Su Ro. Su Ro hastily said, "Mom, you can't do this. Fang Hao is just talking nonsense, he can't afford a house at Tianji Peak." Fang Hao became unhappy. He wanted to retort to his wife, but thinking about it, he decided against it. Arguing with her would only expose his cards and make her more antagonistic. Instead, he smirked and said, "Mom, don't sell the house. You can use the money from selling the house to buy a house for me. What's the big deal? Then, the house at Tianji Peak will only be in my name. If you look down on this country bumpkin, I can even kick you out when the time comes. Hee hee." He continued, "You say sharing the money from the math project is because of my idea, well, I won't be polite then." His mother-in-law stared at Fang Hao and remarked, "Why do I feel like you'll turn bad if you have money? So, are you going to make me rich?" "Oh, I got into a bit of trouble at the hospital. I was fined 1,000 yuan. When I get paid in a few days, there might be very little left. Mom, this money is like a godsend for me. I'll transfer it to Feifei later." Hee hee. Fang Hao grinned, checked the time, and started removing the needles. Su Ro raised an eyebrow, not understanding what trouble her husband had caused. His salary was already very low, and deducting 1,000 yuan was a significant proportion. His mother-in-law asked, "What trouble did you cause?" "I gave a patient some cigarettes, and your love rival, the hospital director, caught me." Fang Hao didn't hide anything. "Serves you right. You can leave. Such an embarrassing thing." His mother-in-law scolded him. Fang Hao left in frustration, called the two kids, and asked them to go home. Su Ro also walked out and saw the two little ones getting into Fang Hao's car. Especially Tian Tian, he even said that Fang Hao's car was more handsome, much better than her car. From a young age, he understood the concept of comparison, leaving her feeling bitter. There was a time when she taught Tian Tian not to ride in Fang Hao's old car. Now, it turns out that her car was even more rundown. She truly had brought trouble upon herself. Fang Hao drove ahead, and when he reached the community, he parked the car on the side of the road. The two little ones got out of the car and ran into the building. When Fang Hao walked in, he found Yue Xia panting where she stopped. He went over, picked her up, and said, "Why are you so weak? Can't run a few steps? Haven't you eaten meat these days?" "Daddy," Tian Tian was being stubborn. "He couldn't be in front of me." Yue Xia's face was filled with a smile. She inherited her mother Su Ro's beauty and was a little beauty herself. Tian Tian, on the other hand, was as strong as Fang Hao. He ran to the elevator and pressed the button to go up. Fang Hao carried his daughter over and saw neighbor Dong Yunzhou coming in from outside. He waited for a moment to greet him. "Hello, Dr. Fang. Have the little ones been doing well these days?" Dong Yunzhou was very pleased and envious of Fang Hao for having such a lovely pair of twins. There's a saying, wealth brings together people of the same kind. Dong Yunzhou was quite satisfied with this neighbor, Dr. Fang. He was elite in appearance, knowledge, and workplace, belonging to the upper middle class of society. Leaving the elevator, he said, "Dr. Fang, did you find out who that person was who entered your house a few days ago? Did you have a break-in?" Fang Hao's heart moved. Could it be the private detective his wife hired? He did pay attention, but he couldn't discover the private detective his wife left by his side. This feeling of being monitored made him very uncomfortable. He said, "Mr. Dong, how did you know?" "Oh, well, when I was checking the surveillance the other day, I happened to see someone entering your house. I remember Miss Lee sent the video to your wife. Do you still have the video? Show it to me." "Yes." Dong Yunzhou entered the surveillance software and found that the database had been cleared. He was quite surprised, but it didn't stump him. When he got home, he had ruefully resent it to Fang Hao. Fang Hao glanced at the video on his phone, and his heart trembled, shocked to the point of almost dropping the phone. After bidding farewell to Dong Yunzhou, Fang Hao returned home and went to the study. He connected the phone to the computer and slowly watched the surveillance video. The angle was not great, and the face was not visible, but the height and clothing were discernible. A tall figure with a stylish suit, a trendy hairstyle, and an imposing demeanor. Although the face wasn't clear, the person didn't seem ugly. Looking closely, he had a wristwatch on his left hand and rings on his fingers, not just one. There was also a thumb ring on his right hand. One chilling detail was that this person had keys to the house. Moreover, the way he opened the door was skillful, as if returning to his own home. It was him. Seeing this person, a surge of killing intent rose in Fang Hao. He wanted to kill him. Suro, you're utterly rotten. While I'm at work, you let your adulterer come to our house. You still claim the child is mine? You say there's only me, one man. You liar. A big liar. Fang Hao was furious. Fang Hao, you need to stay calm. You're on the verge of uncovering the truth. You must remain calm. His wife knew about this video but didn't tell him, indicating that she didn't want him to know. She was protecting this person. This person wore traffic light-colored rings, a branded watch, and presumably, the clothes were also from a famous brand. The thumb ring, his hair was black, and he walked slowly, possibly indicating his age. Of course, it could also be because of the time of day. He wasn't in a hurry because Fang Hao wasn't at home. Suro left home afterward, leaving this person behind. She must trust him a lot. It's probably that scumbag. Fang Hao forced himself to calm down, then heard the door opening outside and the children saying their mother was back. Suro had returned. Suro returned but didn't come to the study to talk to Fang Hao. Instead, she went directly to the bedroom. However, Jia Jia knocked on the door later, saying she wanted to take a bath. Fang Hao asked Jia Jia to go find Suro. When Jia Jia returned, she said her mother asked her to find her father. Fang Hao didn't insist and took the kids to bathe. Even Tian Tian came over to bathe. After taking care of the two children and putting them to sleep, Fang Hao returned to the study. He called Lu Yu and asked if it was possible to obtain surveillance videos from the hospital's inpatient department, especially those of the visits to his mother-in-law. He gave the reason that his mother-in-law would be able to walk in a few days and should express gratitude to the guests. Without waiting for Lu Yu to confirm if he could get the surveillance, Fang Hao shifted the topic. He asked about the patient with the Parkin disease, expressing his reluctance to take over the case. Lu Yu, thinking Fang Hao was concerned about gynecology, talked about gynecological matters. When she heard Fang Hao asking about surveillance again, she casually mentioned letting Fang Mianmian go to the hospital security department, and she would inform the head of that department. Fang Hao was overjoyed, exchanged a few pleasantries, and hung up. Chapter 142, Help me win him back. Fang Hao pondered in the study but found himself unable to focus on reading. He decided to go to the bedroom but discovered that it was locked. You won't let me in but allow the adulterer inside? Suro, how despicable can you be? Damn it. He really wanted to kick the door open but refrained from doing so. Perhaps this would be the separation between him and Suro. They would get divorced, and this woman would become someone else's wife. The thought of the woman he had loved for 4 years becoming someone else's wife pained him deeply. However, the realization that she had cheated on him for 4 years made him even more heartbroken and angry. The depth of his love for his wife was now matched by the intensity of his hatred. Worthless. A rotten woman. Completely rotten. Fang Hao also had sleepwear in the study, so he went to the outside bathroom, took a quick shower, and returned to the study. Suro lay on the bed, locking the bedroom door, thinking that Fang Hao would come back a second time. If that happened, she would unlock the door and let him in. But Fang Hao didn't return. Angry, she tightly gripped the pillow, wanting to go out and confront Fang Hao, questioning why he was giving her the silent treatment. Why wasn't he coming to comfort her? When she heard her husband showering outside and then entering the study without requesting entry, she became furious and went to sleep with her head covered. The next day, she heard knocking outside, and it was the children. She went out, and they bombarded her with requests to go out. Annoyed, she listened to Fang Hao saying she had money and should take the kids out to eat. This made her even more infuriated. She overheard Fang Hao saying she had money, which angered her even more. She wanted to confront him, but Fang Hao was no longer in the study. When she asked the kids, she learned that Fang Hao had already gone to work. She immediately called Fang Hao, directly asking, "Why did you say I have money in front of the kids? Your way of educating them is inappropriate." Fang Hao replied, "Don't you have money? You're willing to spend tens of thousands hiring a private investigator to investigate me. You might as well spend money to let the kids eat something good." "I didn't." "Alright, I've consulted all the detective agencies in Jiangdong City. I know the prices. Only one refused to take your case, probably because they accepted your commission to investigate me, and they're afraid I'll find out. Unfortunately, I'm not as wealthy as you. What's the point of us continuing like this?" After hearing the brief beeping sound indicating the end of the call and Fang Hao's words, Suro felt utterly miserable. Fang Hao's intelligence made her seem foolish. His assertiveness made her extremely disgusted. Fang Hao might actually find that person, and she became extremely nervous. She was too passive. But she didn't think of withdrawing the surveillance on Fang Hao. Every day she couldn't find evidence against Fang Hao was a day of restlessness for her. Before hiring the private investigator, she wasn't concerned about Fang Hao's affairs at all, enjoying Fang Hao's care and trust without a worry. She never expected Fang Hao to suspect her. Moreover, based on Fang Hao's tone, it seemed he had truly found her incriminating evidence. Her 4 years with Fang Hao had mostly been about Fang Hao being obedient. Suddenly, Fang Hao acting so out of character caught her off guard. What should I do? She also took the children out for a meal, avoiding the kitchen. Instead, she let the kids have dry bread and milk before sending them to kindergarten with the help of her neighbor Rueli. Jia still couldn't run fast, easily becoming tired. Rueli held Jia and said to Suro, Jia seems so weak. Shouldn't she go to the hospital for a checkup? Oh, almost forgot, you have a doctor in your family. It seems like Fang Hao is very busy, he left early this morning. Is that car of his bought? No, that's someone else's car. He borrowed it to drive. Suro casually replied, thinking about Fang Hao driving that $1 million Mercedes, feeling uncomfortable. In the past, she had a significant sense of superiority in front of Fang Hao, but when Fang Hao stood next to a luxury car, she realized that Fang Hao's aura had changed. Once Fang Hao had money, she couldn't compete with him. Fang Hao was already very handsome, and with added material wealth, he became even more attractive. He's too busy. Oh, Lao Dong suggested that Fang Hao install a camera at home. Fang Hao hasn't replied yet. Will you install one? There's nothing valuable at home. Why would Lao Dong suggest that? Because yesterday, Lao Dong sent the video of your cousin to Fang Hao. Suro suddenly felt the world spinning, almost collapsing on the ground. Despite the scorching heat, she felt a chill all over her body. Fang Hao saw him. I hope Fang Hao won't be too suspicious. Praying in her heart, she returned home and called that person. She kept calling until he answered. Why did you say you deleted the video? How did it end up in my husband's hands again? He saw you. What do we do? What? He really saw it? I've already had someone go to the monitoring company's server, and the video has been deleted. Why does it still exist? How would I know? You're asking me this, can I tell you why? If I knew, I wouldn't be calling you. We're done for. My husband saw you, and he'll come looking for you at any moment. He said he just needs to know who you are, otherwise, he'll divorce me. He has evidence that proves I cheated. He's willing to go to court. Now that he's seen you, he might divorce me at any time. It's all your fault. I had a good life, but you messed it up. You've ruined me. After shouting, Suro threw her phone to the ground. However, she quickly picked it up, realizing it hadn't broken. Indeed, a customized phone worth tens of thousands of dollars had excellent quality. She immediately contacted the private investigator, continuing to keep an eye on Fang Hao. Once Fang Hao left the hospital, they should report to her immediately. She also prayed that Fang Hao wouldn't find her lover so quickly, and he wouldn't seek revenge. Otherwise, they might all end up dead together. After calming down, her phone rang. It was a call from her lover. She rejected the call, but he called again. She reluctantly answered, saying, What else do you want to say? Is there anything left to say? The lover said, Don't panic. Tell me everything you know about him, and I'll figure out a way to win him back. I don't know what he knows. All I know is that he can find a guest house, a sanatorium, and even courier services. You live in Tianjifeng. Now he has seen you at my house. He knows everything, but he keeps silent about it. Whatever he tells me is something I did wrong. What can you do to win him back? I beg you not to use stupid methods like what happened with Jia. My mom mistook her for me, and it caused her to have a heart attack. Why are you so foolish? I overlooked Jia's situation, and I scolded her well yesterday. She already knows where she went wrong. Come over, let's deal with her together. Don't talk about these useless things. Quickly find a way to help me win back my husband. Suro hung up the phone directly. Fang Hao's investigation was truly life-threatening for her. Chapter 143, The Cost of Revenge. Fang Hao went to the security department, obtained the surveillance footage, and reviewed it. He noticed that many distinguished guests came to visit his mother-in-law, and quite a few had large, distinctive hairstyles. However, The hallway surveillance was too far to clearly see their faces, and there was no surveillance inside the hospital room. Observing the occasions where his wife appeared, Fang Hao didn't find any specific interactions with the suspected lover, leaving him without any leads. A person with such a flashy appearance must be known by someone. Fang Hao contacted some staff at the Sunshine Sanatorium, sent them a photo of the suspicious lover, and subtly inquired if they recognized him. He even considered asking Zhang Jun, a well-known figure in Jiangdong City, for advice. Even if Zhang Jun didn't know the lover's identity, he might provide some suggestions. With a flashy appearance, red and green lights, and a branded watch, this person was no ordinary individual in Jiangdong City. Given Suro's pride, she wouldn't be interested in an average person. Typically, men who deceive young women are either irresponsible scoundrels or mature and cunning individuals. If it were a scoundrel, Suro would have seen through his true nature, and it wouldn't make sense for her to remain infatuated for 4 years. Scoundrels usually don't invest much emotionally, otherwise, they wouldn't be deserving of the label. Therefore, the most likely scenario was that the lover was a sophisticated individual, a highly successful person who operated discreetly within specific circles, enjoying significant authority. Su's social circle consisted of intellectuals, and this mature individual might even surpass the 2 professors in Su's family in certain aspects. Success didn't necessarily imply high intelligence, it could also be attributed to skills that suited the art of deception. Since Zhou Fen was a mathematical genius, anyone surpassing her in intellect would be rare. However, Zhou Fen had her academic limitations, and beyond mathematics, she was a mess. Therefore, she wouldn't be impressed by someone like Su Ro might be, someone with remarkable memory, broad knowledge, and awareness of intriguing topics that could captivate Su Ro's attention. Yang, from the sanatorium, replied that he had some recollection of the person but didn't know the name. She would inquire with others and inform Fang Hao if she found any information. That scoundrel indeed frequented the sanatorium. Fang Hao's breathing became somewhat rapid as he was about to track down the scoundrel. However, he suddenly received a call from a local police station, instructing him to visit for a specific reason, without providing details. Confused, Fang Hao informed another deputy chief physician before heading to the police station. Following a junior officer, he arrived at the detention center and soon saw a familiar face, Wei Wen. At this moment, Wei Wen was handcuffed, with a gray complexion, vacant eyes, and an indifferent expression. "You have 10 minutes. Discuss whatever you need to quickly, and make it snappy," the young officer said before leaving but stayed close by. "Ah Wen, what happened to you? How can I get you released on bail?" Surprised and concerned, Fang Hao quickly inquired about the reason behind Wei Wen's situation. "I can't get released on bail. I didn't ask you to come here to bail me out. Instead, I want you to look after my family. This time, I might be sentenced to 3 to 5 years. Wei Wen's mood was gloomy, and his expression was numb. 3 to 5 years? What happened to you? It's quite embarrassing. Don't make me say it. Do you have a cigarette? Let's smoke. After all, this might be our last meeting for the next 5 years. Wei Wen chuckled faintly. Fang Hao didn't say much. He took out a cigarette, and both men began to puff out smoke, a silence saying more than words ever could. The time was up, and the young officer entered to escort Fang Hao out. In the corridor, Fang Hao asked, "What crime did my friend commit?" "Attempted rape. He confessed to it, or else you wouldn't have been allowed to see him." "And the victim?" "That's confidential. I can't disclose it to you." Frowning, Fang Hao never expected Wei Wen to be involved in such a crime. Feeling uneasy, he recalled the police chief his mother-in-law had arranged during her surgery. He contacted his mother-in-law to get in touch with that police chief. After a brief conversation, the police chief showed Fang Hao the case file on the computer and then turned it back. Fang Hao understood. It turned out that Wei Wen, 2 nights ago, after drinking, went to Jiangdong Normal University and attempted to rape a female student. The attempt was unsuccessful, and Wei Wen turned himself in. When Fang Hao saw the victim's name, he immediately thought of someone. Realizing something, he said, "Chief, if the victim's family withdraws the complaint, can my friend be released?" The police chief replied, "Dr. Fang, don't get involved in illegal activities. You have a bright future ahead, and there's no need for you to jeopardize it. It's not about breaking the law. It's about the circumstances. The victim's grandfather is a retired teacher from our high school, over 70 years old. Yet, he seduced my friend's wife, so my friend retaliated. Fang Hao felt a headache coming on. Wei Wen had attempted to rape the granddaughter of the woman his grandfather had an affair with. The chief frowned, saying, "That won't work either. Your friend acted impulsively. It's better for him to spend some time inside." "Dr. Fang, your friend confessed, indicating he also wants to escape for a while. So, there's no need for you to engage in futile efforts. I want to see him again. In fact, seeing him just now was against the rules. If you want to see him again, it'll have to be after the court's verdict." He stopped the assault in the final stages, causing no irreversible harm to the victim. "It shows some conscience. Since he's your friend, I'll ensure he's looked after during his sentence, preventing any bullying." Fang Hao was taken aback. Those convicted of crimes against women and children would be targeted by prison leaders. It wouldn't be easy. Despite Wei Wen's reasons, he had committed a crime, violating the dignity of the law and causing harm to the victim. Legal sanctions were inevitable. Fang Hao also realized that if he were imprisoned, his chances of developing in the city would be ruined. His medical career would be halted, and his son would undoubtedly be under Su Rou's control. With the influence of the Su family, he might never see his son again. It seemed that revenge against the lover required a method that could better protect oneself. Leaving the police station, Fang Hao headed straight to the suburban sanatorium. Chapter 144, The Most Suspected Lover. Wei Wen's sudden arrest served as a heavy reminder to Fang Hao. He realized that some games should not be taken too far. Even though his wife and her lover had committed a crime, they hadn't been caught or punished. It was because they were skilled players in the gray area and, most importantly, nobody exposed them. The humiliation of being cuckolded had to be avenged, but revenge couldn't involve breaking the law. Fang Hao's movements were closely monitored by Su Rou, who was unaware of the reason for his visit to the police station. She sent her lover to inquire, and it wasn't until Fang Hao was close to the suburban sanatorium that she learned he had gone to visit a person named Wei Wen, involved in an attempted rape case after drinking. As for the victim, upon hearing she was just an ordinary student, Su Rou's lover lost interest. Su Rou knew about the relationship between Fang Hao and Wei Wen, anticipating that Wei Wen, in trouble, would seek Fang Hao's help. However, she didn't think too much about this connection, as Fang Hao was going to the sanatorium for acupuncture treatment for his mother. Fang Hao first visited Zhang Jun, resisting the urge to ask him to identify the lover's identity through the surveillance footage. He didn't want to make their bond shallow. At present, Zhang Jun was his patient, dependent on him, and each treatment deepened Zhang Jun's sense of indebtedness. If Fang Hao involved him in finding the lover, Zhang Jun wouldn't owe him anything. Zhang Jun's complexion had improved even more than the previous days. Through other means of examination, the activity of cancer cells in Zhang Jun's body had further weakened. The possibility of completely curing the cancer theoretically increased. Once Zhang Jun's surgical incision completely healed, he could participate in social activities. Zhang Jun whispered, "Brother, I vaguely feel that I might pass away soon." He was referring to his male abilities. Fang Hao said, "Congratulations, Zhang Gu. I still insist on what I told you last time. Taking action only when that situation arises isn't taking advantage. Zhang Gu is still young, there's a long road ahead. Brother is not young anymore, approaching 50. And with my current physical condition, I doubt if I can perform after 50. Dissatisfied, brother, in recent years, my output has decreased. In my youth, I could do it 7 or 8 times in one go. Now, after struggling for a few times, only a little comes out. I have a bad premonition, I might completely lose this ability. I've consulted specialists in male health, and they say I overexerted in the past. Brother, do you have any way to help? I haven't researched that area, but with proper care, it might improve." Fang Hao suddenly understood the meaning behind that cheeky saying, not cherishing one's essence in youth, regretting it in old age. "Well, I believe in brother." Zhang Jun was delighted. If his body recovered and his male abilities were restored, it would be such a happy thing. After acupuncture, Fang Hao said, "Zhang Gu, keep the car. I'm just a small figure in the hospital. Driving a car better than the hospital directors makes me look presumptuous. During this period, the hospital is undergoing rectification, and I'll be under close scrutiny. So, you should take back the car." "Take it back? You can drive it. This car was a new model 2 years ago, but it's outdated now. I wouldn't drive this model even if I went out. Brother, your hardware is much better than mine. Work on your taste in clothing, and I'll take you to be stylish later. I bet you'll attract thousands of women. Haha. Forget it, I prefer being a small doctor. Fang Hao had never considered a life of extravagance like Zhang Jun's. His goal was clear, to become the best doctor at the Provincial People's Hospital, then the best in Jiangdong City, and ultimately the best in the country. As for women, who in Jiangdong City could surpass the beauty of Su Rou? Despite not being intimate with Su Rou every day over the past 4 years, their frequency remained at least once or twice a week. After experiencing the best, why would he desire anything less? If he were to contemplate, it would be about the best in the province, the best in the country, and even the best globally. Su Rou was beautiful, but there were certainly younger and more attractive women. Thinking about Zhang Jun, a man with 500 properties, who managed to gather information about Lu Jing and other beautiful women, Fang Hao realized that talented men never lacked female companions. Su Rou was also tempted by another man, so why not him? When Fang Hao saw that Zhang Jun didn't want to take back the car, he didn't insist. Now without a car, commuting became inconvenient. He bid farewell to Zhang Jun and headed to his mother-in-law's place. As he stepped into the entrance, he received a message from Xiao Yang, mentioning a person named Zhang Lingtian and advising him to pay attention. Zhang Lingtian? Zhang Kaisen? Fang Hao believed this could be the lover. Quickly searching his memory, he found no record of Zhang Lingtian in the sanatorium's files. It was likely removed, considering the person could change surveillance equipment overnight. However, there was a mention of Zhang Lingtian in the Arts College of Jiangdong University, in a group photo with Yue Xia Huo. Fang Hao remembered the appearance of Zhang Lingtian in the photo, tall, with features matching the description from the surveillance footage. It was him. Relieved, Fang Hao finally found the adulterer. The next step was revenge. He hadn't thought about living a lavish life like Zhang Jun, he aimed to become the strongest doctor in the province, city, and country. Now that he knew the identity of the lover, it was time to plan his retaliation. Zhang Lingtian, you're done. No, I won't let you off easy. Chapter 145, Mother-in-law agrees to divorce. Zhang Lingtian? Fang Hao, exhaling a puff of smoke, finished reviewing the information about Zhang Lingtian. He sighed heavily. Now he had a plan for what to do next. He needed to obtain a sample of Zhang Lingtian's hair or some other biological material to conduct a paternity test with Yue Xia. As a doctor, he would use his professional knowledge as a weapon. Su Rou was a cunning woman, a stubborn character who wouldn't admit to anything unless caught in the act. Even if he caught her in the act, she would likely deny it afterward. Only Yue Xia's existence could prove their adulterous relationship and make it irrefutable. Fang Hao planned to get Zhang Lingtian's DNA material and have a paternity test with Yue Xia. The most ideal DNA sample would be blood, collected similarly to a routine blood test. However, bloodstains, oral samples, hair, nosebleeds, menstrual blood, toothbrushes, cigarette butts, and semen were all considered special samples suitable for paternity testing. Fei Fei came out and called Fang Hao, who then snapped back to reality. His mother-in-law said, "What are you doing outside? Hurry up and come in. Are you not going to treat me?" Fang Hao replied casually, "I suddenly had a craving for a smoke, so I had one. The scent lingers, and it wouldn't be pleasant to come in and bother you. You're smoking? You were fined 1,000 yuan, haven't you learned your lesson?" Without much thought, his mother-in-law noticed Fang Hao and felt somewhat inexplicably relieved. "It's because I was fined that I want to smoke even more. Otherwise, the 1,000 yuan wouldn't be worth it." "Oh, Mom, did you have seafood this morning? I tasted a bit of lobster." "What's the matter? It's better not to eat seafood for now. I remember telling Xiao Rou about some foods to avoid at this stage. Didn't she tell you? Well, you've set back your treatment by 2 days with that bite of lobster. Later, I'll write you a list of foods to avoid for now." Fang Hao felt somewhat speechless. The sanatorium had such excellent food, they even had lobster for breakfast. If he had known, he would have come here just to eat. What about Xiao Rou? What's she busy with every day? His mother-in-law blamed her daughter a bit, feeling a bit anxious. While Fang Hao was performing acupuncture, his mother-in-law asked him to send Fei Fei out and then said, "Fang Hao, tell me, do you really know about Xiao Rou's extramarital affairs?" Fang Hao replied, "Mom, you've experienced life and death, been through the gates of hell. You should have a broad view now. So, I'm not afraid to tell you the truth. Yes, Xiaoro has someone else, and she loves that person very much, someone exceptionally outstanding. Who? I haven't gathered enough evidence to confirm who it is yet. But that person indeed exists. If I ask you to stop investigating, pretend nothing happened, Xiaoro will come back, and she will be devoted to you. You're thinking too optimistically. Xiaoro won't come back. You're a woman, you should know that women only look for someone else if they're fed up with their family. When a woman decides to leave, her heart leaves first. That person is much more outstanding than me and is the perfect match for Xiaoro. You've looked down on me, a country bumpkin, and felt that I wasn't worthy to be your son-in-law. Soon, your wish will come true. What a mess. His mother-in-law wasn't pleased. She asked, if you really divorce, how will you divide the property? Fang Hao replied, no need to divide. The house and the car belong to Xiaoro, and the savings are hers too. When I came, I had nothing, and when I leave, I can't take anything. As for the custody of the child is still young. You won't see him every day. He's so clumsy and uncivilized that seeing him will remind you of me. My parents are from the countryside and value boys more, so I'll take Tian. What about the two in her belly? They might not be mine. She has been with that person more times than with me, so the children probably aren't mine. Why did you two end up like this? I'm not good enough. In these 4 years, my career hasn't progressed at all, while Xiaoro's career has been thriving. The gap between us is widening. Although I'm 7 feet tall, I'm just a small doctor. Oh, by the way, Mom, I can stay at Provincial People's Hospital, thanks to your connections. After Xiaoro and I separate, don't blame me. Let me continue working at Provincial People's Hospital. With your current abilities, staying at Provincial People's Hospital shouldn't be difficult, right? Besides, there's Aunt Liu who's eager to have you in the gynecology department. You don't need to worry about that. You saved my life. If I still blame you, am I still human? Alright. Oh, Mom, since we've talked about all this, let me gossip a bit more. How did our hospital director, Yang Wenjin, become your defeated subordinate back then? Haha, gossiping about me, you have some nerve. Think about it, which aspect could I be worse than Yang Wenjin? That's true. Yang Wenjin isn't even qualified to carry your shoes. Fang Hao nodded, unsure how to continue the conversation, so he fell silent. I'll take a nap. After you remove the needles, you can leave, country bumpkin. I get irritated just seeing you. Understood, old lady. Fang Hao retreated, allowing Feifei to come in and take care of things. Watching Feifei diligently attending to his mother-in-law, he thought about his relationship with his mentor over the past 4 years, feeling a sense of bitterness. Freeloading, it was everywhere. He smoked again, and after finishing, he went in to remove the needles. Seeing his mother-in-law pretending to sleep, he didn't say much. After tidying up and reminding Feifei a few times, he left. His mother-in-law agreed to the divorce. This was Fang Hao's conclusion. This conclusion made him feel a bit heartbroken. He had put a lot of effort into impressing his mother-in-law, going to great lengths to obtain information for her. Unexpectedly, she didn't try to stop him. This also indicated that his mother-in-law hadn't changed her view of him. She still believed he was from the countryside and not worthy of being with her daughter. Now that her daughter had found someone better, she naturally supported it. Despite feeling a bit pained, Fang Hao also felt somewhat free and relieved. He and Zhou Fun and the Su family were ultimately not on the same level. No matter how much he climbed, it would only bring shame upon himself. With this hurdle from his mother-in-law overcome, Fang Hao had one less concern. As for Su Buiyuan, an old professor who had an affair, did he still need to save face for him? His parents, last time, spent 2 or 3 days cleaning at the Su family's villa, and his father even fell. They should understand the rules and troubles of city life. Moreover, the maid's statement about him being a son-in-law was a slap in their faces. At this moment, when Fang Hao informed his parents that he wanted a divorce, they wouldn't blame him too much. Parents also need to come to terms with things. With both sets of parents, interference in the divorce matter should be minimal. Now Fang Hao's next step was to confirm the adulterer.